Good morning, everybody. I'm Philippa Haynes.
And I'm Mark Lee. Welcome to another edition of the Accountants Success Secrets podcast.
This is where we showcase and celebrate successful accountants who are doing great things, have years of experience, and whose stories can inspire and encourage other accountants around the UK.
We talk to accountants who've been running their own practice successfully for a good few years, and we ask them to share their story, including the highs, the lows, and what they've learned on the way. Our aim is to provide some fundamental insights for you, our loyal listener. And if you'd like to share your story in a similar way, do please get in touch with Philippa or myself.
So today we are delighted to introduce Graeme Tennick of Tennick Accountants.
Graeme describes himself as Chief Impact Officer at Tennick Accountants, a multi-award-winning accounting firm from the northeast, Newcastle. Grew up with a dad who had a forklift business, prides himself on being hands-on and not afraid to do some hard graft. Business first, accountants second, claims on their website. The firm's historically specialised in trading businesses, but is expanding more towards service-based businesses now. Not one for mincing his words. We're looking forward to hearing more about his journey.
So welcome to the Account Success Secrets podcast. Graeme, what else should you add by way of introduction?
I think there's very little for me to add just off the back of that introduction. So thank you very much, both of you. Mark's had the displeasure of chatting with me previously. Philippa, you bumped into me at Fab. Introduction, I think, sums up quite a bit. And rather than making sure I don't mince my words, I'll try to make sure people understand me. So I think if I can do that alone, I think I would have started off well. But lovely to be here. Thank you for asking me to be part of this. And I look forward to sharing several insights, stories, and wounds along the way. So it's going to be fun.
Thank you.
Great stuff.
Having interviewed you on a podcast before years ago, I know that's the case, and we really are delighted that you agreed to come on the podcast. We always aim to dig deep into the person behind the accountant. We seem to manage that with a few focused questions and still keep the podcast around 30 minutes. And I'll start with a combination question. What attracted you to accountancy? And even more crucially, why and how did you start Tennick?
Okay, funnily enough, nothing attracted me to accountancy. Brutal truth. I never wanted to be an accountant. You touched upon it there before. My dad had a forklift truck business and he started that up before I was born. So my passion has and continues to be business. But as a child, you can get away with saying, I'm going to be a business owner. When you get a little bit more grown up, which I have done over the past couple of years, I thought I better kind of focus on something a little bit more specific. Now, how accountancy actually came about was I was very strong at business. Ironically, I wasn't as strong with maths. I did do an A-level maths, so I can add up. And I'm not too bad on a calculator and an Excel spreadsheet. But at that point, in terms of A-levels, it felt as though accountancy was a natural fit to, again, in turn, give me a route into, at some point in time, being a business owner. Now, I did an accountancy degree. And what actually happened was my dad bumped into somebody he knew in the bank. This was during one of my years at university. And he'd said how I was studying accountancy. And the other guy said, well, does he want to come and do a summer placement with us? And I went in, and I'll be honest, I absolutely loved it. I had great fun.
I thought you were going to say hated.
No, I loved it. Aside from what I do now, it was my most favourite job. Worked at a firm called Gilton & Harden, now purchased by Assets. But I absolutely loved it. I did go on to other jobs at PwC and Northumberland County Council. Did not like those as much, putting it politely, but I don't think we're past the watershed in terms of saying what I really thought about certain bits which happened there. But it was a great experience, but that was the framework. But I could never shake the feeling of wanting my own business. But what I'd found by way of stumbling into accountancy, I'd found what I wanted to have a business in.
Yeah,
love it.
I love that too. And it's amazing how many people actually go into accountancy either not really being that good at numbers or not really wanting to be an accountant.
It is, and I think it's one of these things where I think there's there's a misunderstanding of what accountancy actually is. I mean, like you say, yeah, I am good at maths. I mean, Philip and I were just chatting before we come on here about helping kids do their homework. You think, blinking heck, it's pretty tricky, some of these things here. But the real passion, and we did an interview there last night because we are recruiting and expanding. The real passion has to be bringing those numbers to life. When you bring those numbers to life with a business owner, you can make a real difference. And it was those stories around tables with business owners, various sizes, ages, when my dad had the business, which really inspired me to want to make a difference to the business world. And I felt as though, off the back of circumstance, I found a role whereby I was best positioned to actually do that.
That's utterly glorious. How did you then start the practice? Did you start with some clients from a previous firm, or did you start from scratch? How did Tennick's come to be?
So it touched actually upon a little bit of audit. So when I was at the council, I was never a fan of audit, but we're about to hit the next period in terms of audit. And I was like, right, I don't fancy being here for another year of this. So I finally need to push the button. But rewind a couple of steps, so 18 months prior to that, and you'll laugh at this, but I'll just say it because, you know, I'm honest about it. I was watching an episode of Gavin and Stacey. And it was a Christmas special where Smithy was kind of walking along and I thought, he's got like a Christmas, he's got the freedom to do what he wants. And I was just like, I need to just start building this out. So about 18 months of planning in terms of different ideas. I went from starting a recruitment company to having a company called Connections, just because of various networks I was part of through my dad, to then think, stop being an idiot. Do what you know best, what you're trained in, set up an accountancy firm. So roll on 18 months in the start of another audit period at the council. It was like, right, I've planned for this. Let's go ahead and let's do this. But I did it off the back of, I think, about 4 or 5 clients, just people I knew. I just did work as if I'm just helping them out with the tax returns. And I just continued alongside the full-time job. I registered for the practicing certificate, and I just started doing it alongside the full-time job. Then it built up. And I was like, right, I'm going to wrap the full-time job in. I was on a good salary. I was 2 weeks engaged. And then I broke the news to the wife and says, right, okay, I'm gonna do this. So that was June, and by the time I'd worked the notice period and everything, and went through the audit, I didn't manage to escape the audit, unfortunately, because the council asked me to stop on. It was then later on that year where I went full-time and did it. So yeah, 2 weeks engaged with an expensive taste in cars, and I thought, yeah, this sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, leading up to this, you've said quite a number of times business rather than kind of accountant firm or something like that. So your focus is obviously on that side, which comes down to that sort of relationship with a client, doesn't it, rather than just the numbers. How's that worked over the years? What have you learned about that?
Well, it started obviously with my dad. So my dad obviously had the forklift truck business. He was on the sales side of things. My dad was brilliant at the relationship side of things. He had great fun with regards to it. He would literally pop in and have the cheek to say, yeah, we'll have a cup on us. Say, I'll have a biscuit as well, because I can see those are across there. Was it somebody's birthday? And my dad doesn't like cake. But he had such a great charisma about him, whereby everybody thought positive. And I was just like, I want to be him. I want to do that. And everything was just good fun. And he was so personal about things. And I've seen the stories and how much insights he was sharing to people outside of forklifts. And just that inquisitive nature, I was like, this is amazing. When I started in the first accountancy firm at Gilton and Harden, I started seeing how it was, and again, this was before the cloud had fully kind of started, kind of kicking in. I was like, I could do this, yeah. And they're actually allowing us to do different aspects of this because we're dealing directly with the client. I was like, I could do this in that way, actually. This is really enjoyable. When I went to PwC in the council, again, with respect to the very different organisations, I was a lot more removed and more corporate driven, and the relationship side of things was very different there, to the point whereby at PwC, I used to walk to work every day, and the senior partner there, you don't usually associate with the senior partner, but I do, because again, I'm just that sort of guy. So I'd often walk up, and he would go to church in the morning, I'd walk up with him to the office. So walking up, and I just made a passing comment. I said, why has none of the staff got business cards? You don't know who knows who. Why don't they have business cards? So a few weeks later, I was at the opposite end of the office, and he shouted across, Graeme. So like the senior manager stepping, everybody else is looking. I walk into his office and I was the only person, I think, on that entire floor that got my own business cards. And that was frowned upon. I literally say, you don't ask him that. Well, why not? That was frowned upon. And I was like, yeah, this definitely isn't going to work out for me. So, but yeah, those experiences combined gave me the platform, the confidence to say you can do a lot of good by having some really insightful conversations. And the numbers are a great place to start to give you the insights and the platform to add context to the words you're sharing.
Love it.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I asked that is because before we started, you were talking about that accountant-client relationship. And so I was, I kind of noticed that you talking about business rather than firm. And, you've actually said that you think that relationship is broken. What have you experienced over the years then for you to say that?
Yeah, I do think it's broken. And I'm not necessarily saying across the board, I'm not saying with every single firm, but business owners are a little bit lost. And if we look at this from their perspective, then the accountant's perspective, business owners used to have that confidant, that resource, say for example within a bank manager, to have a good conversation, to go through things and see what was going on. Whereas now they're a lot more reliant upon the accountant, but they're not necessarily aware the accountant could provide that level of support. They also have a problem which also crosses over the accountant in terms of technology. If we first of all think social media, they are having ideas and thoughts rammed down their throats on an hourly basis via social media of get rich quick schemes. So sadly, they've got all this exposure and a huge opportunity to get all of this advice and then go forth with something. But ultimately, they're swamped by information and starved of knowledge and not really know where to turn, because the role of an accountant has historically been very different to what it could be today. So trying to educate them, support them, cut through all of the noise to say what an accountant could potentially do for them is a huge, huge task. So I think a lot of business owners are feeling lost, they're feeling overwhelmed, they're struggling with time, money, and freedom. And they're having separate conversations with different people, whereas the relationship and conversation should be accountant, business owner, financial advisor. That should all be on one page. And then the accountant can bring in other people accordingly to access finance, to support with the marketing bit, whilst having the numbers to glue all the conversations together to ensure they're all on the same page. Now, from the accountant... Go on, sorry, Mark.
No, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go on.
No, I was going to say, from the accountant's perspective... Oh, sorry, one other thing for the business owner. They are also, from a technology perspective, saying, well, the software does it there now. What am I really paying you for? It just kind of just gets done. It's click of a button, boom, done. Happy days. From an accountant's perspective, we're having it rammed down our throats in terms of the advisory piece, the software, AI, all of those sort of side of things. And the accountant's like, right, okay, I've got to repackage all of this, try and convince the business owner to actually pay me for this and see the value in it, whilst getting the team on board and make sure they don't feel vulnerable, that they're going to be made redundant because a robot's going to do their job, and try and drive things forward in the context of everything which is happening out there. And again, I always kind of try and encourage other accountants to be the best version of themselves. Don't try to be us. Be the best version of you, because you could be miles better than us. I don't compare myself to other account firms. I'd like to learn from them, but I want to be the best version of me. But all those things going together has never been more evident than what it is there now. So I completely feel for both parties, but collectively, the software companies, the tech companies, the business owners, the business industry, and accountants, we need to come together to find a place to correct the sad stat is that 1 in every 2,222 business owners exit when they want, how they want, with what they want.
So how have you learned that, and what have you done as a result? Because you've obviously recognised that problem and you've probably seen it over the years. What do you do now to sort of put in place a solution then?
Just to be clear, it's a work in progress. So I don't have the golden bullet, and I don't think it exists. But a lot of it comes from mistakes. And like I said at the start, I'm not going to kind of paint an absolutely rosy picture here, which is absolute garbage. It started with us whereby we were the traditional firm, like many other firms. I went with Xerocon, and the term I always use, I got software drunk. You fall in love with colourful charts, this, that, and the other. It's like, oh, this is amazing. 40 licenses that, 50 licenses that. Oh, well, the cost per license is less. I'll go for the 50. You take it back to the team and say, right, okay, guys, we're going to do this. Client's going to pay us a premium. Everybody's a winner. I won't bring it in the song. And then the team are like, what the flaming heck? And at that point there, I'm like, yeah, actually, we kind of probably need to get some other building blocks in place. And bear in mind, I was sober. So again, there was no alcohol involved. I was sober when I was making these purchases. And I was like, right, okay, yeah, there's some building blocks that need to be put in place here. You then put those building blocks in place, then you present the business owner. And the business owner is like, yeah, but no. And then you're like, oh, but you've got this problem. This is the solution. No, I'm going to leave it, thanks. Which then leads you to start thinking, I don't get it. In time, you get the right software, you get the team on board, then you're really struggling with the business side of things. I know we're going to touch upon this a little bit later, whereby I think the accountant software relationship is slightly broken as well. But when I recognised that part, I was like, right, there's a key ingredient missing here, and I didn't exactly know what it was. So what I did is I went and did a lot of reading. I read about one business book a month. But we also went and did a Myers-Briggs exercise with a client of mine, Alison Reynolds. It's a little bit like...
Sorry, and just to explain to anybody who's unaware, Myers-Briggs is sort of the classic personality profiling tool. And there are various others, and some of them are a lot simpler now, but Myers-Briggs was the original. Go on, sorry.
Correct. Yeah, and it's by way of doing that, it helped myself and the team better understand ourselves. And it was really insightful. This was pre-COVID, by the way. So we did that. But then we were also able to better understand how we were able to work better with one another. We were also able to understand how we could better work with clients. When we overcome that side of things, we'd fix two problems. The first problem was there was no longer shiny object syndrome in terms of buying software. We had a very set process for how we chose software, how we implemented it, how we delivered it, how we monetized it. And that came by way of mistakes rather than anything else. A lot of it came off the back of a book called Scale at Speed. So we have a 3-part process, research, prototype, implementation, but it involves the whole team. And we're now starting to get clients a lot more involved. So we fixed that part. We also fixed the part with regards to understanding how people were thinking, because again, I did a coaching qualification during COVID. Sometimes when people were saying no, they were saying no for different reasons to what I was hearing. And it was like, all right, okay, they're saying no because they can't afford it or they don't get it. Sometimes they didn't have confidence in themselves.
Yeah.
And by doing that, I was like, right, okay, I can change this round a little bit here to try and approach this in a different way. So we changed that side of things around. And then we've just made little tweaks as we've progressed thereafter, internally and externally. And we're now starting to see progression across the board regards to it. But we are way, way, way off where we want to get to and what we're trying to do. But we're trying to engage with other accountants, other business owners, software companies to say, look, we're just one voice. Can we get yourselves involved? That's why I'm on this podcast here. Can we get yourselves involved? Because we may all be competing in fact, but ultimately we can get a lot further, a lot faster, but work together.
Oh, I think this is so true. Music to my ears, Graeme, this recognition that all accountants are different. And yes, in theory, everybody's competing for the same work. In practice, they're not, because different clients like different accountants. And you said with your personality profiling, there's different people at Tennick's. And I think one of the other clever things that you've done at the top of your LinkedIn profile, you've got a link to one of these quizzes, a score app quiz. Are we the right fit for you? Essentially, it asks people who are thinking about approaching Tennick's. It effectively says we're not here just to complete the legal obligations of your accounts and tax returns to be filed. We do a lot more than that. If that's all you want, we're probably not right for you. And there's a huge number of accountants who've yet to make that journey, or may have chosen to stick with the original approach. And that, of course, is one of the reasons why so many business clients aren't aware of how much more they could be getting from an accountant.
Yeah. Completely right. And off the back of it, what I would like the profession to recognize further is we are commoditizing our industry. We are commoditizing the industry by selling bookkeeping, accounting, and tax services, because the only differentiating factor, unless they've already got a relationship with you, is price.
Yeah.
Whereas if we go from an input to an output to an outcome scenario, the value and the experience is far greater. But the commoditization, the only differentiating factor is price. Whereas this, you can really get that across a far better way to focus on the outcome instead.
Absolutely, and I got that from the quiz that I looked at just now. I mean, to be fair, 'twas ever thus. You know, in the days before accountants were able to do marketing, and before accountants started to do more business advisory and the more interesting work that, frankly, most accountants qualified in order to do. Yeah, whenever I've asked an accountant, why did you go into accountancy? They never say, because I wanted to prepare sets of accounts, do bookkeeping, and prepare tax returns. And many say, as you did, you didn't so much choose accountancy as choose business, and realize that accountancy was the type of business that you would enjoy doing and delivering. And that business attitude from the outset is partly what helps you stand out, but helps others to do that as well, I think.
But I think you've hit it. Sorry, Phil, I just one final thing on Mark. This is interesting. You say everything's come back full circle, and I would love accountants to recognise that. So, you know, there's the actual conversation side of the face-to-face sort of things. That's the premise upon which everything else is built. Let's not forget that. Sorry, Philippa.
That's okay. No, I mean, we were going to talk about the sort of unique and standout bit, and obviously, Mark, you've pulled in on the sort of business aspect. The thing that I noticed when you've talked is about this everybody getting involved, and I think it's easy to say that. Everybody says collaboration, but they don't really mean it. And I truly believe that when you have clients and you say, let's be a part of it, you really do get them in and start working with them. And I think that is very different. Am I right in thinking that, Graeme?
Yeah, so 100%. So if I split the question into two, because if I finish off the staffing bit, I think it's worthwhile sharing what we do with the staffing bit, then I'll talk about the clients, because some of the client bit's quite new. So as a firm, we have a 360 approach. Our 360 approach is one by we have internal business measures, we have client measures, and we have the wider world measures, because we want to make our business better, clients' business better, and the world a better place. So we have three measures.
That 360 is that sort of 360 review of staff and everybody in the firm. Is that what you mean?
The full works in terms of, so it goes down to a kind of more deeper level in terms of it. So just on the staffing bit, to give you an example of firm and staffing, at the end of every calendar year, and if somebody goes on our social media profiles in December, I reflect on the 10 things that myself and the firm should be proudest of having achieved in that calendar year. And before Christmas, we always ask the team to share successes other people in the team should be most proud of from the year past, not themselves, the team. So we do that at a team level. From a strategy perspective, I bring the team in to say, look, here's some thoughts with regards to what the year ahead might look like. So we are just about to sign off on our strategy, because our year ends 31st of March. We're just about to sign off on it with respect to 1st of April. We're just tying off some loose ends. But the whole team's been involved in that. No matter what level, everybody's had a task and an opportunity to contribute towards what we agree going forward. They have sight of the numbers, they have sight of the tasks, and they come in all of that side of things, which is where we really bring them in. We meet monthly to discuss how we're doing. We share insights via a staff bulletin to the whole team. So again, they understand what's happening and why. And every time they have the opportunity to contribute by way of personal development sessions with their line manager or as a firm with regards to the group meetings. Now, from a client's perspective, I was chatting to Paul Miller yesterday. Paul Miller is an absolute diamond. And he's got a book coming out soon, which is brilliant. But I won't say more than that, but watch out for that. But there was a quote towards the back end of the book, and I think it was the CEO of General Motors. He said there's 3 measures in every single business for which you should have: staff morale, client morale, and cash flow. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was a brilliant way in terms of that. So obviously we do the cash flow aspect, we have the staffing aspect, but the client bit, we are just tweaking that at the moment. And I'm quite excited with some of the things which have come out so far. So we have gathered feedback from clients. We've followed up with every single individual client that's come back with feedback, positive or negative. It's like we want to understand what's going on. But we are also creating a client, I'm trying to the title of it because I haven't quite refined the title, a client group, whereby we are going to meet quarterly. We're going to have about a half day in the office. We're going to go out for lunch. Got to bribe them somehow. But they are going to be like an advisory panel for us, and we're going to share insights, give them early access, and help us contribute towards what the future firm will look like. to get them really embedded within that. So again, we can get a bit of a sounding board there. We'll probably mix and match it a little bit so people aren't sat on there permanently, but just to get other people involved.
Love it. Love it.
That's amazing. I think what I hear there actually takes courage. I mean, I think there are certain owners who, you know, would listen to that and think, wow, that's quite a lot to do. And you have to be quite front facing to do that. But it's what's needed.
Yeah, it takes a lot of courage for an accountant to put his hand in his pocket for a meal. So, I mean, I say that alone took a bit of work.
How big's the team, Graeme? You keep referencing the team.
Yeah, so the team is eight staff. But we did go up to 15 during COVID. But at that point there, I pivoted again, recognising the fact that where we were going wasn't quite the niche I really wanted to hit. And some of the team just weren't the right fit. So we didn't make anybody redundant. We managed people out, suggested that they found, in the words of Disney, happiness elsewhere. And we really kind of got a grip and move clients on, move staffing on. But like I said, we are in the process of recruiting again because we feel like we're at such a position there now whereby we're ready to go bigger.
Fantastic.
So
sorry, go on, Philippa.
Go on, Mark, go on.
All right, a couple of quick questions around that and around the team, Graeme. The first one is, how long has the team on average been with you? And there was another one which I've forgotten, so I'll pass to Philippa after that.
If I go through the team, my joint first employee is still with us.
Fantastic.
So they celebrate their 10th business birthday this year. Our newest member of the team has been with us about 4 years. So again, touch wood, I hope this doesn't change. We are quite good from the retention perspective in terms of recognising the journey one and want them to really be part of the values and everything which then follows.
Fantastic.
Everybody else is kind of like a little bit in between, but we don't like the idea of kind of coming in. It's like you're part of the Tennick family when you join us. We want you to progress within.
Yeah,
love it.
So you were talking about your niche, and I just want to make sure that we've kind of nailed that, because I think privately we did talk about what that niche was, but I don't know whether we have in this conversation.
Okay, so our niche was, because my dad comes from the forklift truck background, and I've got a lot of experience from the trades. Our niche previously was the trades and construction. And it was quite an easy one to pick, given our background, some of the team's background, and the fact that they were a key industry where they had troubles with regards to time, money, and freedom. So it was an easy pick. However, they are also time poor, which, even though they've got a huge problem, there's so much potential, we could do so many things for them, meant it was a lot more of a slow burn than what I first anticipated, which then made me realise I need to reach out a little bit more because they haven't got the time to invest, even though they might have the finances, they haven't got the time to invest. So we'll still support them, but we need to branch out. We then branched out and started focusing niche-wise in terms of the actual problem itself, the core problems, where these core problems are sat, and where people, because ultimately the remedy is often looking in the mirror. That's the remedy there and then, but are they willing to take action? So we then started niching on the problem and those where they had the solution to actually kind of push forward. So a lot of the things we'll find at the minute are marketing, design agencies, and people where they are looking at data on a very proactive basis. We're finding a lot of engagement there because they're already open-minded. They're already relatively knowledgeable about things. And they're just needing that professional guidance to take them a whole new level. So we're not trying to take them up 5 layers in terms of where they are now to where they need to be. It's too big a gap. So we're starting to niche in the problem and the solution rather than industry.
Yeah, that's great. I often say people get obsessed by sector, something like that, niching. But actually, there's mindset, there's stage in the business, there's general attitude, there's objective, there are all kinds of things that you can actually play into in order to have that focus. So that's brilliant.
Just something on the niche as well. It took me 10 years to realize this as well. If anybody wants help with the niche, start with who you do not want to be working with, and you'll just cull a whole load of clients straight away. And it was like, why the heck did I take so long to do that?
Absolutely, that's a really good. Sometimes it's what you don't want and what you do want going together makes it really powerful. Great stuff.
Yeah. Well, I think we've, because we're coming to the end, we've covered a number of secrets to your success. So I think, is there anything that any secrets to your success that we've missed?
I would just say action and accountability. We speak a lot, we share a lot of things, but it requires action. Words are good, results are better, actions are best. So in terms of that, so you need, words are good, actions are better, results are best. We need the results side of things, but they come off the back of the actions. Let's not stick just with the words.
Yeah. Words are nothing if they're not acted upon and there is no result. Totally.
Agreed.
I'm very much in favor of that sort of integration and embedding stuff, which is why I said earlier when we were talking about the accountant client relationship and you were talking about it's broken, I was kind of thinking about what have you actually done already in order to get that to be better.
Yep.
Gosh, well, I mean, I feel again like we've just scratched the surface, but we've come to an end as we always do. But I like to think, leave those listeners wanting more, and maybe we will come back and do some kind of special. But that brings us to the end, Graeme. Really, thank you very much for being here with us. I know you've got a cold, so you've been struggling with that. So thank you. Do you want to give people, listeners, details about how they can get in touch with you? What's the best way?
First of all, I just want to say thank you again, Philippa. Thank you again, Mark, for having me on, and thank you everybody for listening there this morning. I really do appreciate it. I do have lots of fun. I might be bummed up, but I maybe make a little bit more sense and you understand me more than normal. So I have slowed down in between trying to catch my breath. If everybody wants to connect with me, LinkedIn is probably the best route. Please feel free to connect me on there. I do also have a number of resources. So we have a Tennick Accountants YouTube channel. There are a series of self-help videos there, which I encourage every accountant business owner, go and utilize them. Go and rip them off. Do whatever you want to do with them to make the world and your business a better place. Have them. They're there free of charge. I would rather people use them to help us on our goal to make the business and accounting and wider world a better place. So yeah, let's do it together.
That's fantastic.
Lovely. Thank you. And thank you so much for that, Graeme. Philippa, let's remind listeners of how they can find out more about you and Insight 101.
LinkedIn is obviously key, but you can find me on my website, insight101.co.uk. You can book a discovery call there. And hopefully we'll be seeing lots of people in the various shows that are coming up soon.
Yeah.
Mark, how about you?
Yeah, well, online everywhere. My name's so common, so I'm Bookmark Lee. My business card is a bookmark too. The LinkedIn, my website, bookmarklee.co.uk. Easy to find me.
Cool. That's it. So if you've enjoyed the Accountant Success Secrets podcast, please share the love online, leave a review on Apple or Spotify, only 5-star obviously, and let us have your feedback generally.
Absolutely too. And do reach out, as I said earlier, to either Philippa or myself if you'd like to be interviewed on a future podcast. So many big thanks again to Graeme, Philippa. Until the next time on the Accountant Success Secrets podcast or anywhere else we might meet online or in real life. Goodbye for now.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Right.